And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is a special episode. It is entitled, Should He Stay or Should He Go? This episode, which will be lasting about 15 to 20 minutes, is all about Alexander Mitrovic. It is the topic I was asked the most when I was in Philadelphia last week. It is a player that, again, many people wanted to talk to me about, and I'm concerned about as well. And I'll be talking about Mitro with his situation in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Should he go and will he go are two completely different questions. Will he go? Well, there are reports on social media that potentially the Saudi Arabian team that's interested in Mitro could be looking elsewhere. They could be looking now at alternatives. That's a good thing. But I'll be talking about, could Mitro still leave in just a few minutes? But will he stay? Only time will tell. Should he stay is a very interesting one, because I've been on social media for the past few weeks and really looked at this, and I've seen a mix. I've seen a good amount that obviously want Mitro to stay, but then I've seen a good other mix obviously want him to leave. So it's a polarizing topic. Should Mitro stay or should he go? So I actually put up a poll just a little bit ago, and I have some interesting results already, and I'll be sharing that at the end of the show. So I'm just going to start from the top and share my thoughts on should he stay or should he go. And anyone that watched Fulhamish Live or has watched or listened to Cottage Talk knows my views on it, but I'm going to go right back to it. He should stay. He should absolutely stay for many reasons. One, he's under contract for another 3 seasons. He should honor that contract. So for me, I think it's important for Fulham to hold on to Alexander Mitrovic. One, because of the contract. It shows ambition from the Cons if they hold on to their star players, as Tony actually said in an interview. It sounds like to me, I'm paraphrasing, committed, at least this was 10 days ago, for keeping his star players, and obviously Mitro's one of them. Will he be able to continue to keep his star players? Well, only time will tell, but so far they've been able to do that. And I've been a firm believer that if Fulham want to kick on, if they want to be the club that we want them to be, and it's funny because I've had this conversation with Dan Crawford at HamyN.com, and we've always gotten to this point with Fulham where they have a chance to kick on and something's happened. Player has left. I remember a situation where both Clint Dempsey and Moussa Dembele left, and it just completely wrecked Fulham. So here's another key moment in Fulham history. And I do hope that Fulham stays strong and do not sell Alexander Mitrovic, because I think there's an opportunity to kick on. And Fulham need to stay in the building game and not the replacement game. We need them to be building a team that can contend for Europe. I believe that they have the ingredients already, and they just need to add to it. They have the core. They just need to add to the core to give Fulham a team that could potentially contend for Europe. So why would you want to sell Alexander Mitrovic? Now, you wouldn't want to sell him. Could you be forced to? Well, that's an interesting one. Ultimately, up to the Cons, because the Cons can continue to say no. They can absolutely continue to say no. If you're offered a certain amount of money, then it becomes a situation where you have to decide. But right now, they are actually staying strong, in my opinion, and not selling Mitro. They haven't done it yet. They have not done it yet. So I think they deserve some credit there. But for me, if I'm just talking about myself, I think Fulham should not sell Alexander Mitrovic because he's under contract and Fulham are a better side with him. And what's interesting about this, I saw a tweet from Cottage Talk co-host Mike Gregg. And Mike, you're welcome back anytime. I know you're now in Ireland, but if you're watching and listening, feel free to contact me if you ever want to come back on the show. But Mike actually tweeted this out just a few minutes ago. Here's his response to the poll. Do you want Mitro to stay or go? Mike shares he makes us stronger with than without. If it's possible, I keep. So that's the whole thing. Is it possible? Well, that ultimately will be on the Khan's shoulder. It is possible to keep him, but at some point there might be a question, a decision to be made if the money that comes in for him is large enough. So that's a different situation that the Khans will have to handle. But right now, they are doing what I had hoped that they would do. When I did Fulhamish Live 8 days ago, I actually said Fulham should keep Alexander Mitrovic. And I said it wouldn't even surprise me that he got a new deal. I would give him a bump in pay. He's not going to get what he's being offered, but I would offer him a new contract. That's what I would do. There are some that would say, well, why would you offer someone that's actually making a stink a new contract? I would do that as an act of good faith with him. For someone that's given Fulham so much, I would offer him more money. But I wouldn't be letting him go. That's just me. The money for me, I would not be letting him go. If they meant a valuation of 50 million pounds, I still wouldn't let him go. Fulham are better with Mitro. They are absolutely better with Mitro. Then you have to get it into the replacement game, which I don't want Fulham to be getting in. So I've not changed my mind on this. I want Mitro to stay. And like I said, I will be sharing my thoughts about this throughout the show and also the poll results at the end of the show. So let's move on. Let's talk about some key issues that are going on. So this actually came out yesterday in Marco's presser. According to Marco Silva, Mitro is back in training with Fulham. This is great news. I actually saw a picture of him. It looked like him training, and then Marco confirmed that. So that's a big step in the right direction. That's a good sign. Does it mean he's ultimately going to stay? No, it doesn't. But it's good that he's back with a group training. No good coming out of not training. So for the fact that he's back training, that's a positive sign. I don't know if he'll end up playing anytime soon, but training is a good step in the right direction. So I think this is extremely positive news that we learned from Marco's presser yesterday. He is training with Fulham Football Club. We'll see if anything comes from it. There's a match this afternoon. Outland over Maryland against Chelsea. Will he be playing? I don't think he's going to be playing. You never know, but I don't think he will be playing. Who knows? If he plays, that's a bonus. Training is a very good sign, but we'll see how this all plays out. Now, could Mitro still leave? And the answer is yes. Mitro could still leave. As long as this window's wide open, I think that there's an opportunity for him to leave. Now, the situation with the Saudi club is, as I mentioned at the beginning, they are currently looking at alternatives, reportedly. A player in Sevilla, I also saw speculation that they could be looking at Ollie Watkins, and I'm all for that. Go grab Ollie Watkins. Go for it. Absolutely. Because that would actually make a rival of Fulham weaker. So I'm all for the Saudi club going after Ollie Watkins. I don't know the truth in that. Like I said, it's speculation, but I would be all for that. The question being, will Mitro stay? And I don't know. Could he still leave? The answer is he could still leave because the Saudi club could still be working behind the scenes to be making a deal. It had gone very quiet for about a week. It really had. Fabrizio Romano came out with that story a week ago saying that things were close, right? And that was a week ago, and nothing's happened since then, except for a couple things. I saw pictures of Mitro with the team. I also actually saw him walking with Tim Ream before the Orlando match. And then we saw a picture of Mitro actually in training. So to me, these are all positive signs. They're absolutely positive signs. But until this window shuts, I think Mitro could still leave. I hope he doesn't, and I want the Khans to stay strong. So let's now move on. Let's talk about the situation with Jimenez. Raul Jimenez, I cannot wait to play for Fulham Football Club. I think this is a wonderful signing. I don't see him as a Mitro replacement. Does signing Jimenez change the situation with Mitro? And I will say no. I will say absolutely no. Can Jimenez play in his place? Yes, he can. that's his role. He could play in this place, but I don't think he was brought in to be the replacement of Mitro. If Mitro goes short term, I think Raul Jimenez could do a job there. But I think if Mitro leaves, Fulham would look for another striker. And what's interesting is if you see the quotes from Marco's presser, he talks about players needed in this window, and he doesn't talk about striker. He doesn't talk about center back either. So what does that tell you? Sounds like, based on this, if you're reading between the lines, right now, Fulham are set with striker. But things could change if Mitro does leave. But right now, he is with Fulham, and I think Jimenez is just a piece of the puzzle. I could actually see someone like Carlos Vinicius going out and Rodrigo Muniz going out. But I think that adding depth at the striker position, something we all talked about. We need another option. Well, now you're going to have it with Raul Jimenez, but I don't see him as a replacement for Mitro. I don't think it changes Mitro's situation whatsoever. Okay, moving on. Let's now talk about the cons, and whether you like the cons or hate the cons, here's something that you cannot deny, because this is fact. The cons to this point have not buckled to the pressure of selling Mitro. That's not opinion. That's fact, because he's still a Fulham player. So they deserve credit for this. We'll see what ends up happening by the end of the window. But right now, Alexander Mitrovic is a Fulham player. And there has been opportunities for Mitro to go, for Fulham to take the money and just sell Mitro. And they have not done it to this point. Now, could it be because they've not met the valuation? Yes. But I saw Tony's interview, and sounds like he's going to do what he can to keep his star players. So to this point, they've held on to Palhinha and Mitro. And that, to me, is something that we should be looking at. Look at other clubs around the Premier League. Look at how many clubs are letting players go to Saudi Arabia. Mahrez, Henderson. Some big names are moving. Some player from Chelsea. They're just letting them go. Look at what Wolves did with Ruben Neves. Let him go. Fulham seem to be the one club that are standing up to what's going on with the clubs in Saudi Arabia, which I don't think many are talking about it. I'm talking about it. How many clubs are actually standing up to them? Fulham seem to be one of them. So I just want to mention that. So to this point, the cons have not buckled. They've standed true to Fulham Football Club. They put Fulham Football Club first before Mitro. I think that's important. Could Mitro still go? Yes. But up till this point, they've done everything that I've asked them to do, and that's not to sell Mitro. They've done it. They've actually done. They've shown strength. They've shown ambition. The cons, I believe, are extremely ambitious. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the cons just want to be a mid-table team in the Premier League. I think they want to contend for Europe and more than that. I think that's their ultimate goal. They're not in it, I believe, just to be a player in the Premier League. I think they want to really compete in the Premier League. What's the best way to do that? Keep your key players and build. So far, they're doing it. So I'm going to give them credit for that. Others who don't like the cons won't give them any credit. I'm going to give them credit. I think they deserve it to this point on this issue. They have not buckled to the pressure at all. Up until this point, things can change. But right now, they've stood by and they have not allowed Mitro to go. And that shows character and ambition from the cons. So I have to give them credit on that. I will rip them when they deserve it, but I'll give them credit also when they deserve it. In this point, they deserve credit, in my opinion. Okay, so let's look at it this way. So let's just play the game. If he was to stay, what will be his reception at Craven Cottage? This is an interesting one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the reception is going to be. I've seen the commentary on social media, and it's mixed. Some don't want him to come back. Some's like, go, just go. And then there were some like me and some like Mike Gregg that would probably accept him back. So I don't know, but I think in my heart of hearts, if he was to stay at Fulham, I think that this is my opinion, that the reaction at first might be a little harsh, might be harsh. I shouldn't say a little harsh, might be harsh on him, might be difficult for him. But I think eventually, if once he started scoring goals and things blew over, I think the supporters would get behind Mitro because we're a family club and we get behind the club. That's just my opinion. But I think at first it might be hard on him. And honestly, in my opinion, I think he deserves it. I think he absolutely deserves it. If he got some booze at Craven Cottage, I think he would deserve it. But I think over the course of a season, if he was to stay, get beyond the window, I think he would hear less and less of that. I think he would. But he could still hear some of that. Listen, Bobby Zamora heard a bunch of that after his first season. And he actually, I remember his reactions after he scored goals. That was to the fans because they gave him a lot of stick after his first season. And listen, the fans are fans. They are going to react. So he might get that reaction. But I think over the course of time, that might change. But in the near future, yeah, I think he's going to get a negative reaction. I think he will. And I think he would have deserved it, honestly. Okay. Coming up next, I'm going to share my poll results and final thoughts on the situation with Mitro. Okay, to finish up this episode of Cottage Talk, I'm going to share what my poll is currently at. So basically, I only ran it for an hour and good amount of votes. It's 203 votes. So the poll was, do you want Mitro to stay or go? Stay is at 80.3%. Go is at 19.7%. So that is a tremendous difference. So the majority of Fulham supporters, now I only did this poll for 1 hour. About 80% wants Mitro to stay. And I'm one of them. I want Mitro to stay. Fulham are better with Mitro, just like I mentioned Mike Gregg said. Fulham are better with Mitro. I want him to stay. I think he would be a professional and play for Fulham Football Club if he stays. I think in the end, it will work out. So I want him to stay. But I do understand the 20% that say, go, just leave. If you don't want to wear the shirt, leave. I get that too. But if you're asking me, I'm going with the 80% that say he should stay. That's just my feelings on that. That's just how I feel when it comes to Mitro. So I'm going to share some comments and I'll just take it from there. This is from Stephen Murray. He says, Mitro actions are unforgivable. I hope we move on from him. Upgrade. No one is irreplaceable. Stephen, you're right about that. No one is irreplaceable. Everyone can be replaced. I understand where you're coming on that. That's why I'm glad I shared your comment and I respect your view on that. This is from Sean Kennedy. He's 28, a little young for a highly remunerated semi-retirement. Okay, very interesting comment. Let's see what else we've got. We got a lot of comments here, so I want to thank everyone for commenting about that. Let's see. This is from my friend Wayne Walden. Hi, Russ. I'm so happy that Mitro is not going nowhere. He's a Fulham player all day long. Okay, let's see what else we got. This is from my friend Colm Bugler. I'd like him to stay. He's an important part of the team. But for me, he is not the most important player in this team anymore. I would have Polina and Leno ahead of him. Colm, I actually agree with that. I think Polina and Leno are ahead of him. But Mitro's right there too. Polina, to me, is the most important player for Fulham Football Club. Good point by you. And Leno's right there with him, and then probably Mitro. But listen, anyone can be replaced. But I understand why you put Polina and Leno ahead of him, and I agree with that. I think Mitro really down the pecking order. I think he's number 3, so I get where you're going on that. Let's see. This is from Ben Lawrence. If a club wants Mitrovic, think the 50 million pounds Fulham want will warn them off. And I agree with that, Ben. I totally agree with that. That's why I think ultimately Mitro will stay unless the Saudis meet that valuation. I don't see anything changing. And I don't see a Premier League side paying that kind of money for Alexander Mitrovic. That's just my opinion on that. So should he stay or should he go? I want him to stay. And 80% of my poll agrees with me. They want him to stay. But I certainly respect all views on that. And I just want to thank everyone for joining me on this last minute podcast. I decided to do this at the last minute, to do it live. And I got a decent amount of people watching me live. So I want to thank you for that. I actually had a supporter reach out to me, Kamal, and say, Russ, when are you going to go live again? And I've been doing a lot of shows lately, just recording them. But I want to continue to do some live shows. So I'll be mixing in some live shows. So you can get a little bit of both. But thank you, everyone, for joining me live. But I am going to wrap up this episode of Cottage Talk. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.